really done a structured presentation tonight. I'm just going to pull apart one of the custom templates that my team and I have developed, and that's evolved over time, that we use as a base for a lot of our projects. So just stop me anytime if I'm going too fast, or if you have a question about something, why we do something the way we do. There's usually some sense, I hope, behind the decisions that we've made and why we do things the way we do. So yeah, Jeff said there are bits of Protostar in there. We're not PHP developers, so we find bits and pieces that work and that are good, so we'll reuse them where we can. And we've also begun using Bootstrap 3. So there's bits of Bootstrap 3 styling and code in there that helps us make responsive websites a bit more efficiently than we used to, because we used to do all the responsive ourselves. But Bootstrap 3 is a nice standard framework that each member of my team can use, so we can all pick up a template and understand what the other person has done quite quickly, because we can recognize the classes and the code, and it's all looking very familiar. One of the issues with Bootstrap 3 is Joomla has got Bootstrap 2 built in, but we got so familiar with Bootstrap 3 that to save some brain space, I didn't want to go back and learn Bootstrap 2. So if you do decide to go and do your own custom template, and you're learning Bootstrap for the first time, there's no problem in using Bootstrap 2. Don't be afraid of it. So yeah, we'll go through and we'll just slowly pull apart one of our templates, one of our custom templates, and just feel free to ask me if you have any examples of something you want me to show you. So the basic template we'll do is just your usual requirements that most websites will have when you start building. You'll usually want a header, a nav, a content area for your articles, your sidebar and your footer. So that's mostly what you'll go for. We'll start with that, and then I can show you how to add in some extra modules when we get towards the end. So I'll just show you now how that little plan corresponds with the template. Will I or won't I? If I'm doing that. I will go through this code in detail, but for now I just wanted to show you where this is in summary. So we'll scroll down. So don't be afraid of all of that. We're going to get into all that. But basically I've set up my header, and underneath that is my nav. Underneath that is my content area and my sidebar. Content, sidebar. And the very bottom is the footer. So they're all in there, and I usually start off with just those, and then we just grow from there as we want to add more and more detail and customization into the template. Okay, I'll show you the bare bones of a template. If you're doing a custom template, the files that you'll need to start with. If anyone, I did this presentation last year where we followed through the Joomla docs tutorial on building a template, and we actually put all these files in. So we're kind of one step ahead this time. It's all done, and I've gone into a bit more styling and detail. But over here on the right, you'll see the file structure for the template. So this is the bare bones that we're going for. We're in the templates folder of Joomla, which is standard, and then we've got our custom template with our bare bones files. So I've called mine demo. So you'll see over here, I've got the same files to start with, and you can start off with them blank. But as long as you've got those, your custom template's going to be fine. Okay. Is everyone okay with that so far? Is that familiar? You've seen that before? So the next bit of information that you'll need in your custom template so that Joomla understands what it is your template details.xml. So that's this file here. And in here is where we just give some information about the template. This is the folder that it's found in. It's called demo, so just always match up the folder name if you've called it something else. And then you can give it a whole bunch of information, what files are included, and most importantly, if you want people to be able to create modules and select what position they want to publish it in, this is where you tell Joomla the positions that are available in your template. So I'll just jump over to Joomla and show you what that all looks like. So I'm in extensions, templates, which most people should be familiar with. If you're installing templates, you'll see it here. Mine is called demo, and I've made it the default front-end template. Some of that information that I've put into that file shows up here. So I was very vague and said your name, your email at somewhere. That's all come from here. So I wrote that, so whatever you write in there is going to display. Okay, now we're going to pull apart the index.php. I have no more notes, so we're just going to go through this. From the top to the bottom. Make sure you yell out if you need me to explain something, okay? Because I don't know how fast or slow you need me to go. Has everyone seen an index.php? Seen PHP code? You're okay with that? All right, so at the top of my template, I've just put a bit of credit to myself at the top. No one actually sees that unless they're in here editing the template. Because it's processed as a PHP comment, it's not going to the front end of the website. So if we go over, and I'll just flick over to the source code for the page and go to the very top, and you'll see all of that PHP is processed and does not come out to the browser. So commenting is really good practice because you can tell lots of stories with that. You'll see lots of comments in here that I've put in here for this presentation to remind me what to tell you guys. So the next part is, this is taken from Protostar. So we, being not PHP developers, need a little help. So yeah, there's some information here that we can get from Joomla to help us customize the template. You can use them in various circumstances. There's loads of parameters and variables available. Joomla docs can tell you, as well as Google. So I've just said, you know, this is how you connect to Joomla and get that information at the start. By my comment, get some information from Joomla. And then I've said here is where we've actually gotten that information and put them into PHP variables. So we're going to use that later down in the template. I'll show you where I've used some of those variables because we can use them for styling. So we can target different things with our CSS. Here I've written an example, the site name variable, that whenever you create a Joomla site, you have to type in the site name when you're installing, or in your global config. You can reuse that information, and we've used it in the footer to show copyright. This next one, rather than saying template/demo, because ours is called demo, we create lots of different templates for different clients and we call them something different every time. So rather than having to say that name in every single template, we use a variable. So we don't actually have to remember to update it. Does that explain that? Not really well. I can show you that further down where I've had to use that. All right, so after all the PHP, then we get started with a normal HTML page. Any web page you're creating always starts with the doc type. So we're using HTML5 for this template. You may use HTML4 for yours. It's up to you. But yeah, we're using HTML5 here. Stop me if something's not looking familiar. All right, so now we get into the head sections. Again, standard stuff for a web page. And we're using a JDoc include. So this will bring in some Joomla information. So you must have it in every template because it'll bring in some Joomla scripts, and I can show you that it's bringing in the metadata and the menu item titles that you type into your articles and your menu items. So you type that in the back end of Joomla, and this is where it's output. So I'll show you that in the source code. So you can see here, metadata description. So I typed that into my homepage article, and it's now coming out there. And the title, which I would have given in the menu, is appearing here as well. So this is all coming from that JDoc include. Then we get to my part. So we'll go back to index.php, system style sheets. And these are coming from Joomla's standard install, their system style sheets, so include those. And now we're getting to our stuff. So we bring in the Bootstrap style sheet here. So this code is from Get Bootstrap. So if we flick over to the Bootstrap site, I don't make any of this up. This is all what I'm told to do, so I follow the instructions. So when you go to Bootstrap and you want to get started, it tells you you can either download it or you can just link to the style sheet available on the cloud delivery network. So I have copied this code here and dropped it into the template. So I now have at my disposal Bootstrap styling.
You think that slows down the site any? Yeah. Going in through the web?
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, because you're going to the cloud, but...
That's what I mean, but nothing noticeable?
No. No, the reason why... Oh, sorry, I should repeat that question for the video. Jeff just asked, does going to the cloud for Bootstrap slow down the site? Noticeably, I don't think so. I'm not an SEO expert on speed optimization, but yeah, I don't think so. Like the reason why we also like our custom templates is because they only have what we want in them. I found using the off-the-shelf ones from the larger template developers in the Joomla community did start to get fairly slow because I wasn't making use of everything they were offering, and they offer so much, which is great, but if you're not using it all, it's not worth having all that styling and JavaScript loaded. So that's why we went down this path.
Because they use a lot of their own frameworks within Joomla as well, like T3 and things like that.
Yeah, so what Dante is saying there is that, yeah, on top of the Joomla scripts, they're bringing in their own framework. So on top of Bootstrap, they're bringing in their own framework for that, yeah. So there's a lot of scripts coming in to slow it down. So custom style sheets here, this is the style sheet that we live in. This is our template.css. This is where we put all our styles to overwrite anything that we're Any colors, Bootstrap's got a lot of blue and grey. If you want pink, you can overwrite the default colors. Any of your components that you install, your style sheet's going to overwrite their styles. This is for under IE9 to help work with HTML5. Fonts. We often use Google Fonts. So, does anyone use Google Fonts? Easy? Yeah, excellent. It's the best. So, Google gives you that code and says if you want to use this font, go and insert this code in your head section of your web page. So this one is Open Sans. We use that one quite a bit. It's quite nice. And this is Font Awesome. So Font Awesome comes with a lot of icons and arrows and symbols, and it's a brilliant library. Saves doing a lot of graphics and custom images. So we reuse that as well.
What's that one?
Font Awesome.
Font Awesome.
Yeah, it's a huge library of icons.
And that vector.
Yeah, so the beauty of using Font Awesome icons is you can make them whatever color you want. They have various sizes, and so they give you all the code you need. You go find the icon you want. If it's a Facebook F and you want to have a Facebook and an Instagram and a Twitter, they'll give you the code for each one, and you just drop it in. And as long as you've got that link to the library, then it'll work. Fave icon is your little favorites icon or your bookmark icon up the top. So if you want to have a custom one of those instead of the Joomla one, you can tell your template where to find that. This is just going to the root directory of the website, but you can put your fave icon anywhere as long as you give it the right path to say where it is. I noticed that Protostar has their fave icon in the Protostar folder.
So most templates do actually.
Yeah.
Have it in there, but like you said, that's if you ever find, like I did the first time I went to do it, is the fave icon I put naturally in the root because from HTML and CSS that's what you do, and it never appeared, and it took me a while to work out that they actually
It's being
are
overwritten.
addressed in their templates.
I think originally with the older browsers, the fave icon could only be rendered by IE. ICO was an IE thing, Microsoft IE, and by default it was always found in the root directory. So because I started writing websites back then, I still do it in that method. But yeah, you're right, you can now put it anywhere. This is our bit of jQuery to show a mobile nav. So if we get time, I'll leave that to the very last. We'll come back to that. And then if you hook your website up to Google Webmaster Tools and you follow the meta tag method, I often drop that in there. All right, how was that? Is everyone okay with the head section? Yeah. All right, what's my next note? So the variables. Okay, so we'll get into the body section now, and this is where I've used some of the variables earlier from that PHP. So one of the ones that we probably use a lot is the item ID. So earlier, using PHP, borrowing from Protostar, we created an item ID variable, and it got that information from Joomla. So what that is telling me is the menu item ID. So the homepage ID will be 101. So this, we like to create a class using this because it helps us target the homepage if we want to specifically target the homepage. Obviously there's always 4 or 5 ways to do everything, but that's one of the methods we use. Another one that we use is the view and layout variables. So just going to another website we've done with a category blog layout. Here's the classes that are generated by those variables. So I know that I'm looking at a category blog layout. So I can specifically style a blog layout using those classes then, if I want. And here you can see item ID 12. So this menu item is number 12. That was created a very long time ago. So it's just giving you a bit more control over the style sheet with those extra classes. So we'll jump back down to where they are. Okay. This section here is our mobile nav. So I've got some styling that will use that. So we can go back and show you that at the end if we get time. It's 7:02. All right, so we'll get into the header. So I go to my plan and that tells me what I need to create. I'll create that plan based on a Photoshop mockup. If I'm working with a graphic designer and they give me a Photoshop mockup, I will draw boxes and label them over the Photoshop mockup so I know what my plan is. So I'm creating a header and I'll wrap everything in an ID so that, again, with styling, I can control the way it looks. Then we get into some standard Bootstrap classes. So I will show you the Bootstrap grid system, which was am I remembering it right, Shani?
Yeah, it was stacked to horizontal.
Grid, stacked to horizontal. Oh no, I wanted to show the media queries first. So I'll go back over here. First thing I wrap it in is a container because Bootstrap will automatically figure out what size your screen is and how wide to make the container. So it will cater for widescreen, 1200 pixels, so it will make the container sit nicely in that 1200 pixels. And then obviously it goes down. So large desktops, tablets, and phones. So it rearranges that width of that container for us. We don't have to say that. It's all done. So then within that container, I've said, I've got a row. I want my header to span the full width. So I've put up the top there, 12. This is because Bootstrap works on a 12-column grid. So all those numbers that Bootstrap has chosen all divide nicely with 12 so that you can choose your widths and it will just calculate the widths of the column. So we're going full width. So we want the div to have the class that represents the width of 12 columns added together. Does that make any sense? Okay, that's good. So in my header, I've just put a logo and I've hard-coded this logo in here. It's an image. Where is my closing bracket? Oh, there it is. Okay. Whew, so we had a problem. Okay, so there's my image that I've dropped into there. I've hard-coded that. You can do that as a module if you want, but I'll show you how to add a module. This commented out code we'll go back to later, so just ignore that for now. I'll show you what that is. Same again, I want the nav to be the total width of the 12 added. So I've applied that class again. And then I've got our standard Joomla JDoc include, which tells Joomla to include any modules that have the position nav. So it will drop them in there for me. Okay, down a bit further. So here I've set up another div to accommodate content and sidebar. And again, I've got my Bootstrap classes to manage how this is going to sit on any screen. I think I go back to this later. So if we just look here, I've got content spanning the total of 8 columns. So I've got my 8 up the top, and I've got my sidebar spanning the total of 4 columns. So they will add up nicely, and Bootstrap will sort out all the padding and sit it all nicely for me without me having to write any CSS. It's nice. I will do that one later, so I've commented that out. And underneath that we've got our footer. And again, footer spans full width, so we've got the 12, total 12. Bootstrap has some extra classes that you can use, there's tons of them. And text right automatically aligns everything to the right for me. So I just, rather than writing my own styles, I'm just making use of what's already available. And here I've got the copyright symbol. I'm echoing the year, and the site name variable is one of those ones that we got from the top, which comes from your global config. It's going to output it there. This is a standard JDoc include, so when you turn your site on to report errors, this is where it's going to put them in this position. And then lastly, but really importantly, we load the Bootstrap JavaScript, which does all this work. And that, again, copy that from the Getting Started page. So I copied the style sheet there, and then down here I've copied the JavaScript. This middle one, Bootstrap ships with some themes that you can use, extra styling to make it look like the themes that they've got, which are really helpful to learn from. But yeah, we're not using that in this one, so I didn't copy that across. And lastly, just a little placeholder, because generally if you're linking to Google Analytics and you're not using a plugin or anything, we just hard code it into the template. Okay, all done. You can go and create your own custom template now. Off you go. Show publish modules. Okay.
Question. May not pertain. Your container or your outer wrap, what's outside of that? The reason I'm asking this question is that today I was wanting to colour the wrap, which is the background, but then I found it only obviously went as far as whatever I had within that wrap. So meaning if I didn't have content going further down the screen, half the screen would only be covered, for instance. So it's not the true canvas background, basically.
It's not the body element.
No.
If you did want to wrap, you can add more divs. So if you did want to wrap, sorry, Jeff's question was related to styling more than just each element. So I, in that case, would probably put a wrapping div just inside the body and style that more of what you're wanting. Or wrap if you wanted the header and nav to have the same styling. Wrap them in a div.
I need a lot more wraps. It's just
And
I've not gone back far enough.
yeah, the template may have not come with enough options there. All right, so our template has nav position and a sidebar position. That's all I have. And in my template, I've told Joomla to include any modules that are in the position nav. And down here, I've told Joomla, include any modules that have the position sidebar. So in Joomla, I'll go to Module Manager. And we can see what modules I've published to those positions. So we should see the menu, and I've put an example in the sidebar. I'll come back to the other ones as we keep going. So magically, my template has a nav, the main menu, and should have shown more of that. So the links one, I've only told it to display on the Bootstrap menu page. Using menu assignment, I've said only display on Bootstrap, not on the home page. So we'll just go to the site and you'll see, okay, there's no sidebar with links in it. And on this page, we've got a sidebar with links in it. That's all good. Okay. I'll just show you now with that content with the sidebar. I'm showing you that now. This comes back to what we did in the template, how I've said, I've got two options here. So on my home page, or on any page that doesn't have a sidebar, I've told the content to span the full width. So you can see the difference. On the home page, our content is running the full width of the page, whereas on our Bootstrap page, it's running as per our plan, just the 2/3 and then the third for the sidebar. So you can hard code that, and if you don't publish a sidebar, you would just have a white space in that column. You've got nothing published there, it would just be a white space. But we tend to have requirements where we want things to run the full width. It looks nicer. We can position things that run the full width of the page and use up that space. So, sorry, going to the wrong page. So here we've just put in a little bit of PHP. Again, not a PHP developer, but doing this type of statement is really helpful and easy. I've said, if there are any modules in the sidebar, count them, and if you count that there are, go and do this code. So we've said, yes, we want our content running 2/3 and our sidebar running 1/3. And then we've got a statement that says, otherwise, make the content span the full 12 columns of Bootstrap. So yeah, really basic, but makes our template a little bit more dynamic. In the off-the-shelf themes, if you're using those other larger template developers, they give you so much flexibility. If you look in there, index.php, you will see all of this PHP going on where they're checking how many modules. If there's 6, the grid's going to appear like this. If there's only 4 modules, display it like this. So that's how Rocket Theme and Joomla Bamboo allow you to have so much control, because they're calculating all of that for you in here. So we do it very simply because we know our design from the beginning. We don't need to accommodate that. It's very rare that clients want that much flexibility. So that serves our purpose, is that amount of PHP. Just to show you how Bootstrap does calculate those widths and why we do the 8 and the 4, or you can make it anything as long as it adds to 12. If you did 7 and 5 or 9 and 3, you would have a thinner sidebar. I was just going to resize the window just to show you that the container changed widths because it detected that we had a smaller screen. So the container's a bit smaller. It recalculates what those widths should be on those 8 and the 4. So it's still 2/3 and a third. And then when we get to the next level, that was the tablet width. Bootstrap says, oh, you're getting a bit thin now. We'll just move the content underneath. So my sidebar has now gone beneath the content area. So Bootstrap's decided, yeah, you don't need this really thin column. And then when you get to mobile phone width, we just keep going down then to get thinner and thinner. So Bootstrap's done all that for me, and that used to be a lot of work of our own styling. So now we can just throw in a container class and it'll do it for us.
What about when you want to leave modules out in, say, the phone? Say you don't want to, you've got a big header graphic, for instance, you don't want that appearing on the phone version.
Okay, so if you want to start controlling a bit more what's displaying on your phone, because often you want to reduce clutter. There's not much room on a phone screen, although they are getting bigger. That's when you can start to target the widths of the screen yourself. So you would go and put in your template.css using, I would use the Bootstrap media queries, they're called, as a guide, which we got from, where did we get those?
It was from the CSS page.
It was?
Yeah.
Grid system, media queries. So I would use these to then go and put in my style sheet and say what styles I want to use. So if you want to say header, display none, logo, well, you don't have to say it to the logo, but
Alternatively, Bootstrap does ship with its own classes as
you're
well.
so good.
So
It does.
if you scroll down to like grid options, I think it is. Yeah. I think it gives you the classes.
Is it in helper? Helper classes.
I thought it was just back where you were in grid system, but it was.
I think it's just called hide, isn't it? There it is. No.
There's like actual classes, like you can say.
You can target the width and just, yeah, you can. There is a
That's
class.
I used the hidden class.
Yeah, but you can target tablet, or
Yeah,
if you
I
want it
think
to
it's
show
in
just on
grid
tablets,
Yeah.
this one to show just on phones, and this one to show, yeah, there is a
I
class
think
for
it was
that.
back where you were
But
in grid
I
system.
won't,
And then in grid options under media queries.
there is.
See? Because you can do like.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I can't remember what they were.
Yeah. Anyway, if you get more into Bootstrap, there are like classes that exist where you can say like, I don't know the exact classes, but it might be like mobile hidden. And so if you don't want it to show on mobile, you'd attach that class to the element.
Yes, it is there somewhere. Here it is.
There it is.
Okay, so using these classes, you can say what it's going to be visible on. Does that help? Make sense? So flexible. Can't rave enough about Bootstrap. Saves us so much work. What was I going to show you next? Show responsive. So that's kind of our template pulled apart. Now I was just going to go through adding an additional module in the header, because I remember, Jeff, last time you were talking about,
That's right.
you know, if you want to add your own custom module position. So we'll just add a little module that's going to appear in line with the logo. And then we'll do another module down the bottom. And then we'll do mobile nav, but it's 7:30.
Really close.
Oh my goodness. Okay, quick. So adding a module in the header. So I'm going to call this custom module utilities. That's just my own naming convention that I have and always had. So if you want to have a new position available in your template, first thing you want to do is go to your XML file so that this information is available in Joomla Module Manager. So we'll go through, and I've prepared this earlier so we can just uncomment and save. So once you've got the position available, that's all well and good, but it's not going to display until you tell your template to show modules that are in the position utilities. So that's where I've put up here, just fixing my comments. So that's where I've said, Joomla, go and get any modules called utilities in the utilities position. Now, again, I've got a Bootstrap class here saying that I want that to span 2/3 of the header. And in doing that, I need everything to add up. So that means my logo is only going to take up 1/3 now. So that means it's 4, not 12. Save. The last thing you want to do is go and create that module in Joomla, which I've already done. It's a custom HTML module. I just went and created some code. I've called it members. So we'll go and just refresh the template. Where's my styling?
Maybe it didn't save before dreaming it did.
So this is just some HTML put in a custom HTML module, and you know, you can make that say whatever you want. It could be a search box, it could be some links, it could be links to social media. It's whatever you want. But yeah, I just chose that because I wanted to show you how cool Bootstrap is. It you know, gives you code to create little drop downs with links and things like that. So I thought I had styled it though to make it not sit right up like that. Here. I thought I'd put some padding on it. Mod-members. Sorry, I have to go and check what's going on. Can't help myself. There's no hyphen.
And do you have a space at the start?
I can't remember.
Or just backspace, is it?
Let's see what that does. So I'm just putting a custom class on this module. Here's my module. We're in the members module, going into the advanced settings, and I wanted to put a custom class so that I can control the styling of it in my style sheet. So I'm just trying to work out what to call it, and so we'll just see what that's outputting. Ah, I know. Okay. So I'm going to just rename that so that it behaves the way I want it to.
It's still going to do the same thing.
Well, I'm going to fix my style sheet so that I'm targeting the right style. Okay, so the class that I want to target is called module table-members. So I go to my style sheet and tell it I want some padding on that so it's not sitting right up at the top corner. Save. This is a live site. Dreamweaver's updating the file. I refresh and I should have 43 pixels. I've calculated this earlier to make sure it lined up nicely. And we've just added a module and styled it. So, do you want me to do another one? No?
No, what time do we finish? Or meant to finish? I forget.
It's 7:33.
We meant to finish 7:30.
So yeah, we can add another module and go through the mobile nav, or we can go to the pub. So it's up to you guys, whatever you want.
I think it's more to do with when they're going to close the doors.
Oh, okay. Otherwise, yeah, I could go on and on.
I've got a question. How do you check if the header and the navigation are overlapping? Do you have some way of graphically doing that sort of? When you get to the end, you've had a look at the layout and you find that, like Jeff's saying, you only got half the screen on there. It just looked crappy once you actually viewed it. Is that
If you have any browser, Chrome or Firefox, you can view the source code, and a lot of them have this inspector where I can right-click and inspect. They all have various words for that, but it's usually inspector or something like that. So then I can, it comes with this highlighting built in, so I can see usually if something's got some padding or some margin. It color codes margin and padding, so I can see, I can see the orange is margin, the green is padding, and if that's going over another element, you can immediately see that, yeah, you'll need to fix some styling there. Yeah. Because it could be positioning, it could be negative margin, it could be, yeah. You'd need to do that, which then tells me my HTML's on the left and my CSS for that's on the right. So I can start to play with that. If I had too much margin on here or I wanted some more, you can live edit that to test it. So I might say, well, I want some more around that. Let's give it some more breathing space. And I'll experiment with that code until I find how I want it to look. And then I'll go and put that in my style sheet in Dreamweaver. Even tells me the line number. Oh, that one's hard-coded. But over here, tells me that I've switched the border off and set a height on line 16 of my style sheet, which is really helpful when you get into the bigger style sheets that have thousands of lines. So you can go straight to line 1000. Yeah. But don't be afraid. Get in and edit. Break something. Anything else?
Yeah, that was good. Thank you very much.
Okay.